So, welcome to another edition of the Influence Global podcast, and I'm really pleased to have a special guest with me today, and that is the co-founder of the brand Snug, and that's Lauren Hannifan. Lauren, lovely to see you.
Hello, lovely to see you as well.
Yeah,
Thanks for having me.
it's a pleasure. And we're going to talk all about how you have engaged influencers, what's worked well, perhaps things that where the brand is going in the future. But I'd love for our listeners and viewers to hear a little bit more about how you started Snug and the grassroots story.
Yeah, I'll have to take my memory back a bit because it's been quite a while. But yeah, so our story began about 6 years ago. My partner and co-founder and I were moving home. So we actually bought our first flat in London, and we thought that it would be, quite quick, quite easy to furnish that flat. But what we realized was that it wasn't so easy. We actually ended up waiting several months for a sofa to arrive. When it finally came to our flat, we couldn't get it up the stairs. We were living about 4 stories up. So it took a lot of man and woman strength to get it up. And then we couldn't get it through the door when we finally got it to our flat.
Oh my goodness.
Even worse, our window was far smaller than our door, so we were kind of left in a really tricky situation where we had this sofa that we couldn't fit through the door after waiting several months. And when we kind of called the supplier, they weren't taking refunds, so we were in a bit of a pickle with our sofa situation. So essentially, what we decided to do was just kind of flip the market on its head and listed out all of our issues that we had throughout our whole buying process, and kind of being, millennials and we kind of thought there's a better way. We're quite used to the on-demand economy of Amazon Prime, and
Of
Uber had been going for years. Like, it just kind of felt like, well, why couldn't we get our furniture delivered quickly as well, and why couldn't it fit? And why does this process have to be so hard? So from that point, we essentially, kind of went into about a year of R&D, where we essentially retrofitted a three-seater sofa into a box. And the brief was really, it has to be comfortable. It has to be able to come in pieces, fit through doors, be easily handled by one person. That was kind of one of the things I said, is like, I want to be able to assemble my sofa. Um, and yeah, so we kind of went through this whole brief and spent about a year developing this sofa, and essentially kind of came up with Snug. At the time, we launched as Snug Shack, but I feel like most people probably wouldn't know that at all, because we spent maybe 8 months as that brand, and then we kind of developed it into Snug itself. So yeah, that's kind of how we started. But I suppose just talking a little bit on the fun side of that as well was, I always came from a marketing background. I was working at a creative agency beforehand, and loved like the social and influencer scene that the beauty and fashion brands were taking full force of. So when it kind of came to having a blank slate of a brand, it was super fun to really just develop something that an outdated industry hadn't seen before.
Mm.
And it probably helped a little bit that I hadn't worked in that space at all, because I had no preconceived notions of what a sofa company or furniture company needed to look like. So we really kind of put our flag in the sand as a challenger brand. And with that, we made sure that everything from our look and feel to our branding to the way we spoke to our customers, and even how we marketed, was completely different from the industry. And I guess with that kind of, we very quickly decided that social was going to be our main channel. Influencers was going to be our main channel, because it wasn't where our competitors were. Uh,
Mm.
So yeah,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
a bit of the early days.
Well, that's really fascinating now, because if I look on TV, I
Yeah.
can't go anywhere without a blooming sofa advert. It's incredible, isn't it? You'd think that the market must be huge when you look at this. But I think what I love about what you've said there is you really roll back in order to be a challenger brand, where the problems and issues were,
Mhm.
and you came up with a really strong solution, particularly that people that I guess live in cities, and very, and those people that perhaps live on the top floor of a flight of stairs that don't have a lift. So
Yeah.
there must be loads and loads of people now that would love to have nice furniture, but actually the access point is probably preventing them from doing so. It actually makes me think about people that live on lifts. How do they, so not lifts, but high-rise buildings? How do they get furniture up there? Is it all on these outdoor lifts or what?
Well, I presume so. I'm actually not sure because we've only ever lived in somewhere with stairs, but I presume that there's larger elevators for furniture, but even still, that comes with a hassle. Um,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, I think what I'm always amazed by, or I guess other people are always amazed by, is that, when we do photo shoots for Snug or book any house kind of around London or outside of London, it was people were just amazed at how, one woman or whatever could just kind of, bring it in, set up a corner sofa and be ready in 15 minutes for the
Yeah,
shoot. We didn't have to deal
yeah,
with all the
yeah.
hecticness.
I
So
love
yeah.
it. I love it. So let's talk a little bit more then about the influencers. A lot of influencers are all, it's all about the relevance to the brand. How
Hmm.
did you go about that process?
Yeah, so in the early days, we really just kind of started with a core group of two or three influencers. It was funny enough, they're actually we put some stuff out on social, and there happened to be an influencer down the road from our, you know, makeshift offices. There happened to be an influencer, and she was just really interested in our offering right away. She said, "Let me come to the office. I want to see the product. I want to promote you guys." And we were just really excited to have someone interested. And I remember we had a meeting with her, and she ended up making some cool content. I think we actually shot one of our first stop motion videos at her house in general, which kind of coined our initial type of content that we became known for. But really, what we did was just say to her at the end of it, "Well, who do you know that would also be interested in this?" And she gave us 5 names, and we just reached out to them. "Hey, so and so recommended you. She thought you'd love this product. Like, can we do something together?" And after from every influencer, we just asked them for a recommendation, and it just really kind of snowballed from there. Um,
Hmm.
that was in the early days. It was really kind of, who's interested, who's our early adopters, who gets excited by this, and that's who we were keen to work with. Now, kind of 6 years on, we're a lot more sophisticated around who our customer is. So, at the moment, we've refreshed our customer insights. We're very clear on who our core audience is, and through that lens, we're able to then look at our influencers and say, okay, does that influencer appeal to this core audience? And are they in market? Are they moving home? Are they renovating? Are they in a headspace that our customer would be in? So now we are looking at it through a more sophisticated lens. But yeah, that's kind of how we've developed.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. And do you have an ambassador program at all, or do you have anything where you're getting any sort of user-generated content?
Yeah, absolutely. So I actually have lots of stories around this, but I guess so. I'd say at the moment, we don't necessarily have an ambassador program per se, but I would say we have a community of over 1,500 influencers that we've worked with in the past several years. And what I love about the home is, people only have so many angles of their home they can shoot from. So if we've worked with someone from 6 years ago, we're oftentimes still getting content from them, or we're still being tagged in things many years on, just because of the nature of our product.
Right.
um, so that's really great to see. But I guess from our community, we have gone further and developed an affiliate program, where we kind of work with them on helping us to promote different promotions that we have on. um, I suppose one interesting story I can share around UGC is actually back to our early days. We launched just before COVID happened, so but we had, I think, just gotten in about 12 months of trading before COVID ended up happening. And we still had, in 2020, we had all these plans, like new products to launch, all of these things. But we actually couldn't get together as a team. We couldn't shoot anything. Like we were a new brand, so we had very little photography. One of the cool things that we actually ended up putting in place was we put together kind of I guess like a UGC program. We called it Style Your Snug, and influencers or our community, like customers, could participate alike. But essentially, the idea was every month we were going to put out like a theme for the month, and some of the themes were like, making a sofa fort day, or style your sofa for spring. And we came out with these monthly themes and challenges for the community. And the idea was, submit your content, tag us, and we'll then at the end of the month put it up to the community to vote on who styled their snug the best.
Very
And
good.
that person would win back the cost of their snug. So it was really beneficial, I guess, for someone to participate. And we carried that program on for about a year. And by the time we were done with it, we have over 500 to 600 pieces of content. And
Really,
to
wow.
put that in perspective, we could have gone another year plus, posting one asset every day and still have more coming in. So that was a really cool thing we did in the beginning.
Yeah, and if you compare that with paid media,
Mm.
and I'm not saying that paid media doesn't have a place, but when you get that earned media and shared media, it just makes such a difference. It adds so much more authenticity, doesn't it?
100%. Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's great. It's great. It's great to hear. It's a fabulous story. We're going to just take a break now, and we're going to hear back from you in a second or so.
Perfect.
Right, we're back now with Lauren, and great story that you're telling us about this brand. What have you learned as being you're a female entrepreneur. You're very inspiring for a lot of others that we're now in an industry where there's a lot more female entrepreneurs, particularly in the influencer industry, as it happens. Whether they be content creators or people running agencies or brands. What are some of the things that you've learned along the way? What are because running a business even through a pandemic, and of course, through cost of living crisis has had, challenges for all of us. What have you learned? What are some of your top tips that you might like to share?
Oh, sure. Interesting. So I think one of the things that I've learned that's really stuck with me in the past 6 years is always starting with your customer first.
Mm,
As a new brand, we had to go off of gut feeling, and very early on, it was what me and my partner wanted, because we were making products for ourselves, and that's what we had to go on. But just as soon as you can start getting data in, just get that data in and start to understand your customer more. One of my favorite projects I did in 2023 was our customer insights refresh project. And it lasted the whole thing was probably about 4 months, but there was all these different things that kind of spun off of it. But yeah, what we ended up taking was all of our anonymized customer postcode data, and we were able to identify our core audience and how that shifted through COVID, post COVID to now, and where the customer mindset is. We also did some deep dive customer insight, like surveys. We did one-on-one interviews with people as well, to really understand exactly why they were coming to Snug and what solution we solved for them. And it was funny how things have shifted, and it actually made us relook at what messaging we're putting at the top of the funnel, middle of funnel, and bottom of funnel. So it was no longer based in what we thought was right. It was actually in data. And there was some surprising things that we had to switch up, and some really surprising things that we learned about our customer as well. But
what was that? What was that? What
yeah,
surprises?
and it's funny because as I say it now, it probably doesn't seem that surprising, but having grown through COVID, it actually was. So One of our main USPs from the beginning was fast free delivery. You know, we can deliver in 24 hours. And through COVID, that actually became really, really important. And it was our main USP, really. We were one of the only brands in the UK that could do that. But now, you know, that we're several years on from that, what we found was actually that fast free delivery isn't the most important. It's actually more of an expectation now of our
Mhm.
customer. But
Yes.
at the top of the funnel, what people are really interested in is, will it fit? Is it modular? Can it fit my space? It's all about that fit, which was something that I knew, but it was like, okay, I had to take a real look and start to change some of the way that we're messaging things. And that carried on through every single part of our messaging, including how we're briefing influencers. You know, you'll see a lot of our influencer briefs and content now is, they usually start with, what does their entryway look like, or what does their hallway look like? You'll see a lot more videos of people's homes rather than just, you know, an assembly or a styling video. It's actually super important to put that that situation in the customer's head. And to be honest, small changes like that had huge impacts in our marketing. You know, return on investment. It's been quite incredible. So
And it's lovely to hear, because what I'm hearing from you is the importance of listening to your customers,
yeah.
but also listening to your influencers
Mhm.
in a way, because I think sometimes people forget that influencers aren't there just to promote, they're
Mhm.
there to give amazing insights. And of
Mhm.
course, they can create that through their audience.
Mhm.
Oh, we love this product. So you can be getting, of course, comments from the influencers' posts that could be quite enlightening for you. So pleased this particular product was fabulous. It fitted in the smallest space I wouldn't thought possible. You know, those sorts of nugget comments are
Yeah.
priceless, aren't they? Because they've been driven through a third party as opposed to from the brand.
100%.
Um, Really great stuff. And so what does the future look like? Where is the future of this economy that we're in now of chunkable space? Because I think it's not just in the furniture in bedding. I think it's happening in other types of furniture, isn't it? Now, when I see like TikTok videos pop up, a lot of these videos are showing like the smallest spaces and what you can do with them. They're almost becoming space experts out there. Am I right in, where I'm going with that?
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. I mean, yeah, we're definitely seeing that. I mean, I think the average person today, you know, the cost of living is going up. It costs a lot to buy a house. Interest rates are going up. You know, the average person might not be buying a house now, like what they thought they might be. But I think what they are interested in is making the absolute most of the space they have. So
Mhm.
anything around, you know, small space living, or it doesn't even have to be small space, but it's, as you said, just making the most of your space and, you know, really having that space to call your own. Like what we find with our customers is that they're extremely kind of passionate about making their space their own. And part of what Snug kind of feeds into that is that modularity aspect, where they can create the sofa that fits their space, but at the end of the day, they're just really maximizing their space and making it their own. So yeah, I
Yeah.
would definitely agree.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, that's great. That's great. And the future for Snug as a brand, what's the future look like?
The future looks bright. I think we're going to definitely be leaning a lot more into the new customer insights. We recently used those to create an out of home campaign that was around London. It was really successful. So I think it's just goes to show that when you nail your positioning and your messaging, you really listen to your customers, you can actually solve their problem, and people are going to do the marketing for you at that point. So I think just more of that, really digging into the insights, test and learning, and making sure that we're always trying to improve. Yeah.
Great stuff. So how can people find you, Lauren? Tell us your links.
Sure. So you can find me. I'm at Lauren Hannifan, both on Instagram and TikTok. And then you can also find me on LinkedIn. So linkedin.com// Lauren Hannifan. And that's where I just share lots of tips and commentary on all things brand, campaigns, and influencers, as well as some behind the scenes stuff from a founder's perspective. So, yeah,
Great, lovely. Thank you so much for joining us on the Influence podcast today.
thank you.